We move to South America now, and in Argentina, President Javier Milei has officially vetoed legislation passed by Congress that would have increased pension payments and expanded protections for individuals with disabilities. The veto announced on Monday had been anticipated since last month and comes just ahead of crucial midterm elections this October. Milei, known for his libertarian economic stance, defended the move by emphasising the need for fiscal responsibility, stating there is no money. The presidency criticised lawmakers for approving the bills without identifying how they would be funded. While Milei's administration has made strides in curbing triple-digit inflation, his austerity measures continue to spark debate over their social impact. Congress still holds the power to overturn the veto, though doing so would require a significant majority. Well, joining us to discuss this latest announcement from Argentina, of course in the grips of economic difficulties, Anushka Saraswat, an international relations expert and scholar, joining us live from New Delhi. Anushka, thank you for your time. This is, of course, an interesting conversation to be had. Austerity measures that are in place in the face of triple-digit inflation. Is this Javier Milei in between a rock and a hard place, or do you think his stance is maybe too strong?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for having me here. So if we look at President Milei's veto in the pension scheme in Argentina, I think it is a reflection of how they would like to balance the global economic landscape currently and the inflation that they are seeing on the domestic level. So, if we look at it from a very legal perspective, of course, it is constitutional. But if we see it from the perspective of signaling, then Argentina would like to signal to the partners in the West that it is trying to fight the inflation at home. And this is why one of the measures is to veto the pension scheme. While this is a matter of protecting the rights of elderly people, which I think a lot of Western countries are dealing with, and many economies in the global South and South America. But this is where they are trying to meet the obligations with the IMF and the international macroeconomic landscape that we are seeing currently. And if we go back to the turmoils that have been happening since the COVID-19 pandemic, and how South America in particular and global South in general is dealing with such problems, then it is one of those shock waves and one of those impacts where a scheme that either way would have benefited the elderly people, protected the rights of many families and older people in the global south, it has led to probably choosing the macroeconomic stability more
Yes.
over how they would like to deal with the pension schemes for the elderly people.
Anushka, as we bring an end to the discussion and the programme as well, we have seen protests in Argentina over the actions of Javier Milei and his government. Do you think that we can expect similar moves after this veto?
Yes, it is very possible that we could expect similar vetoes from President Milei and Argentina, because I think this is something that we are seeing on the global level in the European countries, in the West, in the global South. South America is not an exception. So it's a part of how the countries are trying to respond to the global economic shocks that are sent because of inflation, because of the rise of governments that might be leaning towards the right, and some are even leaning towards the far right. So, as an IR expert and also as a lawyer, I would like to tell you that it is a balance between macroeconomic stability and doing something which would be rights based. So definitely such schemes could be vetoed, not just in Argentina, but in many other global South countries, because the shocks, because of conflicts, because of a pandemic, and because of all the regional instability that we are seeing currently, this is definitely going to pressure the governments
Yes.
to pick up macroeconomic stability over inflation, and that is why we might say that rights are compromised.
Anushka, thank you ever so much for your time and insight. That is all we have time for. We'll be back shortly with more of your latest international